Hi, welcome back to another Geeky Gourmet. I'm Beth Accomando, host of the KPBS Cinema Junkie podcast, and with me here is Movie Walla's Yazdi Pithavala. And he was on the last Cinema Junkie podcast, which was Hooray for Bollywood Part 2. And these videos are all themed to what the podcast topics are. And I couldn't think of anything better than Bollywood snacks. And so, Yazdi, why are Bollywood snacks so important to a Bollywood movie?
Because the movies are so long. So a typical Bollywood movie always gives you the full bang for your buck. And so folks want the whole 3.5 hour experience, and nobody can physiologically be in the same seat for 3.5 hours. They need a bathroom break, they need a break in between, and there's always an intermission. Always. There's always an intermission, and during the intermission, you go out and you feed yourself. It's a treat, it's part of the whole movie-going experience. You look forward to it. And you do good things the previous week, so your parents will buy you good things to eat during the intermission of the movie you're going to see.
And you grew up in Bombay.
I did.
And so explain what it was like going to a movie.
Movies are such a cultural event. Everybody is always looking forward to that next big movie from their favorite actor or director. And when that movie opens, people are able to buy tickets in advance and all the theaters just sell out. And then the best part is, when you're walking into the theater, there's usually a huge throng of people because there are people who are hoping that somebody bought a ticket and is not able to make it, and everybody goes asking extra, and extra is code for do you have extra tickets.
And what kind of food would be available at a Bollywood intermission?
It depends on the theater, but we were talking about the glory days of Indian cinema, so I'm looking back to the 70s, 80s, 90s, standard fare. You will always have samosas, which will be freshly made, and there will be 2 to a packet, and you can buy them in pairs of that. Those are the ones which are gone the first. So, if you sit there after the intermission comes on and talk with your family about what just happened, you're going to lose out on your samosas. They're the first ones to go. They also have popcorn, just like here, which is always freshly made, and you can get those. The more northern Indian cinemas will also have the equivalent of the bhel, which is the Delhi Chaat. So we have here what is called the Delhi Chaat, or actually the accompaniments to the Delhi Chaat, and it's something that is put together in a hurry. Chaat in Hindi means lick. So any kind of food which is lip-smacking good, which is made quickly, which can be made on the street in a hurry, and which is crunchy and savory and sweet, qualifies as chaat. If you're based in any metropolitan city in the US, your local Indian restaurant probably has Delhi Chaat. And it's usually street food, so it's things which are assembled together in a hurry and which can be eaten without any fuss while you're walking on the road or walking on the street or on your cinema seat. And typically they will just tear off a piece of newspaper, mix up all the components of Delhi Chaat, and they will give it to you. And usually they will give you a flat puri. This is a round puri, but you can also have a flat puri, which are actually the more common ones. And you will use the flat puri as a spoon to kind of scoop up your chaat and put it in your pie hole. Kind of the base, the foundation of the chaat is what is called the Papri. And Papri is these little square bits of deep fried dough. What's not to like? So what you would do is you would layer on at the bottom of your newspaper or your plate or your platter. You would just lay it on, as I'm doing here. This one that we got from the local San Diego restaurant is nice because it has the papri, and then it also has potatoes and beans in them. And then, like I mentioned, you could have 2 kinds of puris with it. A puri is, again, a deep fried dough. Everything is a deep fried dough when it comes to Indian snacks.
These are like little Christmas decorations.
They are. So, Beth, why don't you help crush some of these as well?
So let's crush one of these.
And then you layer this with a whole bunch of things depending on what's available and what you like. So we have some fresh boiled potatoes here. Next up, we have some freshly chopped onions. Next up, we have the freshly chopped tomatoes. Now remember, from this point onwards, you're starting to put the wet stuff, and so this is all going to start making this whole concoction soggy. So your clock starts ticking from the time you put the wet stuff to when you can eat. And I exaggerate a little bit, but probably in an hour's time it'll get too soggy to eat. So you probably want to
eat it quickly.
Eat it quickly, yes. Then we have some good yogurt, kind of the runnier kind. Indian yogurt tends to be not the Greek yogurt kind. It tends to be more runny. If you're using a Greek yogurt or so, just dilute it with some milk or water even. And then last but not the least, we have the 2 chutneys. Now you got to find the right blend of chutneys for you. I know what I like. I like 3 parts of the sweet one and 1 part of the spicy one. This one has tamarind and sugar in it, and it also has cinnamon, cardamom, and then this is the spicy one, the more spicy one. This one has chopped cilantro, it has chopped mint, it has a little bit of coconut, and then it has green chilies with a little bit of lemon juice thrown in as well. What is not to like? Okay, so now we have this little spherical puri. If you're so lucky to get one of those, make a little hole with your thumb or your front finger so that we have now the perfect little vessel for your puri. And then I'm going to take some of this chaat that I made and I'm going to dump it inside. Woohoo! I'm going to add some more. Now you can top it off if you really like yogurt more. You can add some yogurt on the top. If you like more chutney, you can add some chutney on the top. And then this little packet of goodness goes into your mouth. Here we go, come to me. And then it's an explosion of different textures and tastes, and salty and spicy and sweet and so forth.
All right, so you made that look so delicious. I'm going to try making one myself. I'll call this a little Indian Christmas ornament tree.
Yes. These are not easy to make, by the way.
No, they don't look it.
No.
I don't know how they maintain their structure so well.
I don't know. They must use some kind of a mold.
It feels magical somehow. Yum, 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 yum. All right, you make this, and then you're going to want to sit through a Bollywood film.
Yeah.
All right, and you mentioned that there's a couple of other things you can have.
Yes, so samosas, of course. Everything begins and ends with samosas. These samosas, samosas are almost, not almost, but absolutely always triangular in shape. They usually are, 8 out of 10 times, they are vegetarian. They have potatoes and peas inside, but you can also do them with minced meat. You can do them with chicken, and so on and so forth. And you just bite into them. They're so good. I personally prefer the ones which have a thicker, doughier crust. This is a very thin crust, but any samosa is good.
All right.
So no matter the length of the film, there will be an intermission. You will not be deprived of it.
All right, and then you also have some chai and other snacks.
So these are what are called bakras. These are very, very hard to find. This is a very typical Farsi dish, which is people who were originally from Iran who are now living in India for, 150 plus years. This is the preparation that they make. It's a yeast-based cookie which is led to rise. So there's a little bit of yeast, there's a little bit of yogurt in it, cardamom, cinnamon, dough, and sugar. You will be hard-pressed to find these. There's a lady in Los Angeles who makes these, and I pay her, and she mails them to me. These are not easily to be found. But if you were in Bombay or Delhi, yes, you can find them at stores. And then we have these are what are called Farsi Puris. They are kind of like palmiers, if you have ever seen them, but instead of the sugar, these have cumin in them. And I don't know if you can see them up close, but it's like layers and layers of pastry. We also call them kari biscuit, and kari means salty, so all it is a salty biscuit. And typically you would have this even at home with your cup of tea. So here's to some good tea.
All right, and good movies.
Yes.
Okay, Yazdi just showed us how to assemble the delicious Delhi Chaat, which is the perfect Bollywood intermission snack. But if you don't live near an Indian market or an Indian restaurant, then I'm going to show you how to make the one ingredient that is the base of this and that might be hard to find, and especially hard to find fresh, and that's the papri, or the fried dough. Okay, so I'm not going to show you how to make those glorious Christmas ornament-like perfect spheres, because I believe that takes a level of alchemy that I don't possess. but I can show you how to make the flat little squares or circles. They're relatively easy to make, and then all you need to add are the more readily available items of chickpeas, boiled potatoes, chopped onion, chopped tomato, yogurt or curd, and a sweet tamarind chutney and a spicy green coriander mint chutney. I'll also show you how to make sev, which is another type of fried dough that you can use to top your Delhi Chaat. So to start, here's how you make papri. The papri is simply 1 cup of flour, 1 teaspoon of cumin seed or the harder to find carom seed, salt to taste, 1.5 tablespoons of oil or ghee, roughly 1/3 of a cup of water, but see how the dough is coming together. It might be a little more or a little less. You need to mix it with your hands to form a firm, stiff dough, and then set aside for 20 minutes. Then after 20 minutes, take out the dough, knead it briefly for about a minute, and divide it into 3 portions. Roll each portion into a ball and flatten. Then take the disc and use a rolling pin to roll it into a flat sheet of dough. Now, I forgot to prick it with a fork to keep the papri from puffing up, so learn from my mistake. After all, this was my first attempt at making papri. Then you want to use a cookie cutter to make circles, or you can cut it into squares or other shapes. And then you need oil for frying. Test the oil by dropping a pinch of dough into the oil. The dough should rise and turn golden quickly, and hot oil is key to making it nice and crisp. You need to flip them once, then drain them on a paper towel, and then you have the papri to use as the base layer of your Delhi Chaat. And for an added topper, you can make the very fun sev. So sev is a little more complicated because you need to buy a couple of items that are readily available online through places like Amazon. The main thing you need is a noodle press, and that's what you're going to use to make these little noodles that are fried and then put on top of your Delhi Chaat. So I'm going to put links in the video notes so that you can track down any of the items that are a little more difficult to find. So for this video, I'm cutting the recipe in half. So the full recipe requires 2 cups of gram flour or chickpea flour, 1/2 teaspoon of Indian red chili powder, and you can also add a little bit of black pepper powder too, like 1/3 teaspoon. Also 1/3 teaspoon of turmeric, a pinch of hing, which is an Indian spice that has a very strong smell, so just use a little, 1 teaspoon of hot chili oil, and then a 1/2 cup plus 2 tablespoons of water, but add slowly because you may need more or less depending on how the dough is coming together. And then you can add salt to your taste. You want to sift all the ingredients together and hand mix till it forms a nice soft dough. Then you need to take the noodle press fitted with the thinnest holes and oil the machine completely. Then add the dough, and now comes the fun part. Press the noodles into the hot oil and watch your sev fry up. Then remove it with a slotted spoon, and then you can break it up and use to top your Delhi Chaat. Delicious. Okay, now you have more options for Bollywood intermission snacks for the next time you want to watch an Indian movie at home. These Geeky Gourmet videos are paired to my Cinema Junkie podcast, and this month the theme has been Hooray for Bollywood. So you can also check out the previous Geeky Gourmet video and learn how to make your Bollywood popcorn. So please check out the companion Cinema Junkie podcast, Hooray for Bollywood Part 1 and 2, where we look at the history of Bollywood cinema and give you some recommendations for films to watch, old and new. You can find Cinema Junkie at kpbs.org/cinemajunkie. Till our next film fix, I'm Beth Accomando, your resident Cinema Junkie.